Okay, so this thing here is complete black magic. It is a spectrophotometer that is super precise and that can allow you to get incredible solar pictures in whatever wavelengths you want, like hydrogen alpha, super easily, super fast. It's super addictive. It's absolutely amazing. And if you want to repurpose your refracting telescope that you use for astrophotography for solar photography, you can use this with it and you can get amazing results. So this is the MLAstro SHG 700, and it is, as I mentioned, a spectrophotometer. It's a very interesting way of imaging the sun because basically what's going to happen is that at the front of it, you have this mirror-looking thing, which is actually not a mirror, it's a prism, kind of, and it has a tiny, very tiny slit at the very middle of it. And that tiny, tiny slit acts as a prism or diffraction grating. It takes the light that arrives there and it spreads it into a spectrum, and then that spectrum image ends up being projected at a camera that will be installed at this end, basically. And because the projected spectrum is so large, because it's a very precise diffraction grating, it makes that spectrum spread across a lot of degrees, a lot of FOV, and so that you can zoom in much more than with like lower quality diffraction gratings. Then you have this selector here that allows you to move the field of view so that the wavelengths of interest falls onto your camera sensor there. It's a super, super interesting product, and it's a very, very high spec spectrophotometer to start with. And based on that, you can actually image the sun. And by that, I don't mean taking an image of the sun like you would with a solar telescope. I mean taking a scan of the sun, a spectrograph, effectively, of the sun as you slew through the sun, taking the information from the spectrometer, and then use some free software and open source software, actually, that is complete black magic to take this video that you took of just a wavelength diagram, effectively, of the sun, and it builds it back into an image of the sun, but it can also do a lot of more stuff. It can look at the Doppler effect of the sun, like which side of the sun is retreating away from us versus which side of the sun is coming towards us. Same for the eruptions at the surface of the sun. I don't even remember how they're called because I'm so excited. And this thing is for only photography, so never used it, it's not made to be used visually. You could actually harm your eyes if you did so, but it can give you incredible images of the sun with very low effort. And I was very surprised by that, actually. I thought it would be much more complex, and it wasn't. And originally, MLAstro actually contacted me about that, and I said, like, maybe my viewers are not so interested because it's a deep sky astrophotography channel. But then I saw the results that Dylan O'Donnell had on his channel, and I was like, okay, I got to try it. And I was a bit intimidated by the fact that it's not taking an image of the sun. It's like scanning the sun and recording the wavelengths of the sun throughout its surface, effectively, and then reconstituting an image. It sounded like a lot of work. And in the end, it's actually not a lot of work. It actually works out really, really well. And this device is actually based on an open source device that you can 3D print yourself and then install optics in, called the Solex. And it's just like, it's a overall better implementation of Solex with like full metal parts, proper micrometer kind of adjustments on the side, better optics, and also you do not need to use any energy rejection filters. I've actually used this with the full aperture open with my 102, or currently on loan from SV Boni, 102 millimeters doublet refractor. And so it's great to repurpose your deep sky photography rig to use with this. Only use refractors, check the documentation to make sure that your telescope is compatible, but overall it's some amazing piece of kit. Anyway, how does it look like when you actually use it? And what kind of results can you expect? Let's look at that together, shall we? Okay, but how does it look like when we're actually doing a recording? Why do I say that it's like black magic, basically? Well, let's have a look. Currently, I am connected on my computer to the computer that is connected to the MLAstro equipment plus the telescope plus etc. And we are pointed directly at the sun without any energy rejection filter or anything like that. I have the SV Boni SV503 102 millimeters, so 102 millimeters aperture telescope taking pointed directly at the sun, and then At the very end of the imaging train, we have the MLAstro SHG 700 chilling out there with the Toptech 678M monochrome camera, capturing this image here, which does not look like much to us with the human eye, and that's where the black magic comes up. So we'll basically be recording this very dark line here, which is the H-alpha absorption line. And apparently all of those like flickering lines that we see around there and like the wiggles in there will be used to reconstruct an image of the sun. And so right now I'm pointed directly at the sun. I've made sure that I can control my mount and my focuser as well directly from my computer there. So I can do it everything from inside once I'm well focused within the SHG 700, because it's a bit complex, but we'll get to that a bit later. And so my goal is to take an image of this H-alpha line as I scan through the sun in right ascension. So I'll have to move away from the sun, and then as I record, I will scan through the sun, moving through it via right ascension, basically scanning the sun, recording this, and then we'll have some Blackmagic software that will reconstruct that into an image of the sun. So let's try this out, shall we? So we have a good imaging like exposure right now. We're not overexposed or anything on the camera. I'm just going to choose a region of interest, so something like much tighter around H-alpha. So you can see now we have the whole H-alpha band in this very tiny region of the camera. And why I'm doing that is simply so that I can have a higher frame rate here, 73 FPS. Actually, ideally I would want a bit more. Well, something like that. It's actually a bit too much, but whatever. So now I'm going to go to my mount control there, and I will set the rate to 4 times sidereal. And what I'll do for now is just like move the mount until I don't really see anything anymore. Actually, I'm going to do it faster. So I'm going to move to the left there, not seeing anything, and you can see the image starts to disappear. Now we are away from the sun, right? So I'm going to set my rate to 4 times. I'm going to start a capture there, and yeah, we're going to just start the capture, and I'm going to move the mount 4 times to the right until we go through the sun. So now we're going through the sun, we see it appear again. And I'm going to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. We're scanning through the sun. We have those black lines, vertical black lines that appear from time to time. That's, intentional. We keep going, keep going. Now we're exactly on the sun itself. And soon we should, start seeing the sun disappear again. So it's again, we're seeing this spectrograph with just absorption or emission or whatever we would call them, probably absorption lines in this case. And that's it. We've done a scan. Maybe I can do like another scan while I'm at it. So I'm going to take another capture there, click start, and then do it the other direction. It doesn't hurt that we'll have it in multiple directions. Maybe I can take multiple frames and then stack them in the end. I don't know. I haven't done that much, but I'll just show you like the very quick and dirty work that we can do with this spectrophotometer, basically attached to a cheap telescope, cheap doublet telescope with a wide aperture. So I'm just going to keep things simple for now, and we're going to wait until the scan is done. You can see that now we're moving away from the sun once again, and we are completely out. So I am going to stop the capture, and now I'm going to use a free program called JSOLEX, which is here. I'm going to open one of those files, so I'm just going to open SER file. We're going to choose a file that I captured today, so just now, and let's take the latest one. Hopefully it's going to have worked. And I'm just going to go through full process, because then it gives me a cool image with the corona of the sun as well. Everything all like basically pre-processed, and it's just using exactly what we captured, this emission band that we're capturing. It just takes it, and through Blackmagic, it will create an image of the sun. So let's wait until it's done. To see here, it's like analyzing stuff and doing some weird math, physics stuff. Like I have no idea what's going on. And underneath, we start seeing like a weirdly sun-looking image. It's oblong, it doesn't look great, but it's there. There it is, we have a sun image there. It's pretty dark, but we're starting to see things. And let's wait for it. And it's finished. We get this image. I think I stopped the recording a bit too soon there, so that's why we're missing this little portion of the sun. And this is an insane amount of detail in the H-alpha spectrum. Of course, we could look at other spectrums with this, this particular thing. And we do have those scanning artifacts. You see like those lines there. That's from the seeing between frames that we get, because each frame that we get, we're scanning a slightly different portion of the sun. It's not the sun all at once. We are moving through the sun, and that's what we get. And if I go back to the folders and I open up the folder with this file that we saved earlier, I can go in there and under Processed, have a range of images that have been pre-processed for me. And this one is colorized, has the sun in H-alpha together with the corona and the little piece that I didn't, get in my scan, with an amazing amount of details, right? And I think that's absolutely amazing. And you can take multiple images and stack them. But before that, we had 2 scans, right? So I'm going to go back to JSOLX and let's try to process the other scan that we took right beforehand. Maybe this one will not be truncated at the top. Maybe I was simply not centered in declination, which can be a bit difficult. So I'll go through the process and then show you how it looks like in the end. And nope, unfortunately, it's the same thing. So it means I'm not centered in declination. And that's one of the things that is very, very difficult with this, or not very difficult, something you need to get used to with this particular system of solar imaging. But how amazing that I am able so easily to get this image. And it's like, it's a nice solar image, and I've never been able to do that with like much more expensive solar telescopes that I used to have. So yeah, very, very impressive. Okay, and just because I didn't want to leave you hanging like that, I just took another exposure after slightly adjusting the declination axis of the mount. This is what we get. So we get the full solar disk. And if we go and see that, I think it's this one, processed, and then the mixed one, bam, here is what we can see. This is the full sun again, but this time we have all of the corona and everything in the sun, and we still have the seeing and wind also, because I have a lot of wind on my balcony artifacts. But I do think with some sort of stacking, we should be able to get rid of those. But this gives you an idea of what is possible with this device. And to give you an idea, from the moment that I actually removed it from the box to being imaging like that, it took me maybe 30 to 50 minutes. So less than 1 hour to get an image like that from scratch, assuming that you know how to use SharpCap and you know how to use your mount and you know how to use cameras already. There's a lot to actually work with, but each step that you take to focus, like there's 3 points of focus that you need to take care of, but each step can be done kind of like in a process, one after another, and it's very well documented in a YouTube video that is put out by MLAstro. So I'll put the link up above and down in the description, but I'll show you exactly how to do that just right now, so we can actually go from the start and show you how to do that from the beginning. And I'll wait until it's a bit less hot outside, because right now it's like 36, 37 degrees Celsius and super humid too on my rooftop balcony. So I want to get a bit cooler outside. So I'll see you at around like 4 or 5 p.m. and let's see how it all works together. Okay, so now that we know exactly what it can do, which I don't know, my mind is absolutely blown. And also I'll show you a bit later in the video, like a photo of the sun that I took with some stacking by taking multiple scans of the sun and then stacking them together. But let me show you how the setup actually looks like and how we can actually do the first setup, because there's a lot of instructions actually in the manual or as YouTube videos on the MLAstro YouTube channel. I'll put the link up above and down in the description. So I'll go give you the overall steps to get to a good kind of image with this. So first things first, I'm going to install the camera in there. And for that, you need an M42 to 1.25 inch adapter eyepiece. So So you need to provide that yourself. It's not coming with the kit, but then you can insert a camera. I'm using the Toptech. Well, it's MLAstro branded, but it's actually Toptech G3N678M, which is the recommended sensor for this particular thing because it has 2-micron pixels and it is large enough to take a full image of the sun in a single scan. And I can, insert it into here, close that off, and now I'm ready to really calibrate this. So let me remove that. And the first step is actually going to be done without needing like the sun. We just need daylight. So you can do that on a cloudy night. There is actually an adapter for a tripod, like 1/4 of an inch type of tripod adapter. Just point it anywhere. Point it somewhere in the sky. It doesn't have to be the sun. And connect to the camera via a sharp cap, and you should see something like what I have on my screen right now. And that's what we saw earlier in the video. So there's several things we need to do. We need to rotate the camera so that those lines are like kind of horizontal. So I can use a target on the on sharp cap to have something more or less horizontal with those lines. This is actually fairly important, so we do need to be somewhat precise. So something like this, right? I can always adjust this later. And then we want to make sure that those lines there, the absorption or emission, I don't know how you would call them, wavelengths in there, are very sharp. And for that, I will use this in front of the camera to focus that in. And so I just like do this like that. I can, zoom in. I can zoom in there and make sure that it's like sharp as tack, right? Those lines are unfocused now, and then I can focus them again to be sharp as tack. Something like this, right? So that's initial focus. This is something that you can do again after you have connected all of this thing to your telescope. So that's not a big problem. The next part is this thing here, where basically you want to look at the edge of your image and you want to change that so that the edge of the image is super sharp and not blurry at all. And so you can do that. Now I'm getting somewhere. And as you do it, it actually makes the lines unfocused again. So we kind of needed to do a second pass on this focus here to have the lines as sharp as possible. So here we go. So we have adjusted this again, and I can double check again the edge to make sure that the edge on the right-hand side there is super sharp. Something like this. And this is how basically you have your preparation before you even connect this to a telescope. And you can see now that my H-alpha line is not quite horizontal, so I should be rotating my camera some little bit more. Okay, and then I also want to center my H-alpha line, which can do at any time, even after connecting to the telescope. And you can see what I meant by moving the field of view so that we have our line of interest at the very center. And just like that, we've prepared to connect this to a telescope. So you saw that we adjusted the focus here, we adjusted the focus there, we adjusted the bandpass here. And after you connect it to a telescope, it's actually still very easy to do the focus here of the camera itself and the bandpass selection as well. Both can be used without any issues after connecting to the telescope. The only problem is this guy there. This guy, it's more difficult to adjust after you connect to the telescope because then the symptom of the telescope misfocus and this guy's misfocus are actually the same. So it's very difficult to get it right after you've put it on a telescope. So talking about the telescope, by the way, this is what we're going to be using. So as I said, it's the SV Boni 503 102 millimeters. So 102 millimeter aperture with f7, 714 millimeters of focal length. This is probably the biggest telescope that I would use without an ERF on this particular piece of equipment. And it's perfect. Absolutely perfect for this use. So I highly recommend it. And now we need to make sure that the diffraction grating, that little prism / mirror that we saw at the very start of the video, needs to be properly in focus. So you need to, I use my cover there, and I can place it like that so to see the sun and see exactly where it is focused, which is around here. So that means that I need to make sure that my diffraction grading actually reaches the point of best focus, and I actually had to use all of my M42 kind of extension tubes to achieve that. So something to keep in mind, you might need to MacGyver some things around to achieve good focus. But let's do that. I can attach this to the telescope. And one very important thing when you attach it to the telescope, you need to make sure that the declination axis and this are basically perfectly parallel, or as parallel as they can be. And with that, we're completely ready to image, and I've also connected an EEF there. And what you would do afterwards is exactly like what we did together. I will need to reduce my exposure length, reduce my gain, and this is what we're saying. And you see on the H-alpha line, or around the H-alpha line, we have this like shimmer going on there, and that is actually what we're going to capture. If we see the shimmer, it basically means that we're going in the right direction. And I need to center the sun, and that's one of the most difficult parts of using this thing, is that I need to move the mount. I'm actually going to make the speed a bit faster. I need to move the mount so that we have the maximum brightness and the maximum field of view. So this in right ascension, and then let's see in declination, like the more we have, and the brighter it is, the more centered the sun is in our little spectrograph. And you can see that my camera is still slightly at the wrong angle. So something like that is probably better. And now we're getting somewhere. I need to double check like the RA axis. And after that, what we want to do is just focus the telescope itself. That's why I use the EEF. That way I have it like available for me to do the changes directly without needing to be close. But we need to focus the telescope itself, and that should be, again, that these lines there on the side would be as sharp as possible. So I can, move my focuser. Actually, something like this looks pretty good, where those lines are super sharp, and we can also see those, like that shimmering is very visible. And I can adjust the camera focus again. And that looks good. And we need to make sure that the H-alpha wavelength is centered, which it is. And then we can do exactly like what we did earlier in the video, which would be, restricting the field of view there, making sure we have the entire H-alpha band in here. I might need to actually move it slightly. So I'm going to use that dial here. There it is. Now it's pretty much at the average middle. And then move away from the sun. Bam, we're away from the sun. And then as we're taking a recording, up, we start the capture. We say start. I move. There's a lot of wind. We're going to get a terrible result. But, let's take a scan of the sun, and we're taking it, and we're taking the scan. And this is insane to me that just this will be made into an image of the sun. And we're done. I can stop the capture, and we can, again, as we showed earlier, process it into this free software called Solex. And this is with the sun super close to the horizon. And there is my file with like almost at sunset. Just do a quick process so we can see how the image looks like, and then adjust as needed. And I don't know about you guys, but I think this is like close to magic. This is absolutely amazing. You can see how quickly we can get going with just getting initial results with it. Again, I was doing like very quickly, so my angular angle of the camera, etc., is not probably great, and there's probably a lot of issues because I was going very, very fast. But you can see that just in a few minutes, we were ready. Like there's almost nothing to do as long as you have the accessories you need. So an M42 to something adapter to connect to your telescope with potential extenders to make sure you can get in focus, and an adapter to 1.25 inch for your camera with the monochrome camera. You can be ready super quickly. Of course, you also need to provide the telescope, and there it is. We are getting this image of the sun just like that. Of course, a lot of wind, so it's not the best thing ever, but it's there, and it works, and we have the full disc, and isn't it completely, absolutely insane and completely incredible? Now, it's going to work much better if you have good seeing, if you don't have wind, which is not the case of my rooftop balcony. We have horrible seeing. And yeah, so it can have, it's very good if you have much better seeing. And in some days in summer, when we have very little wind, I should be able to get excellent seeing and use that again. But what's amazing with the sun, especially right now because we're on a high of solar activity, is that it changes all the time. So every day you would be getting different prominences, different features on the sun. You can see the rotation of the sun and all sorts of crazy cool stuff. And it's not just that. If I do a quick full process on this, I'll show you some of the stuff that is possible with this that gives you some really cool scientific information about the sun that I do not come close to understanding yet, but we can still have a look because it's fun to look at. And so here we go, we have like the full processing done, and we can look on the left-hand side at tons of images that were created. We can see how it would appear like basically as a white light kind of sun. So what you would see via just standard solar white light solar filter. And we have all of those vertical banding because of my wind and because of my seeing. We'd get much better results without the wind, even with poor seeing. And you can see also the Doppler image of the sun. You can see, so we have on this Doppler image, we have like a blue region there and then a red region there, which means that the blue one would be moving towards us and the red one would be moving away from us, right? I hope I'm not getting it wrong, meaning we can see the spin of the sun effectively. And we have stuff like active regions that are automatically detected, a negative view of the sun, which looks absolutely amazing, colorized version of the sun in H alpha, a mix of the colorized version plus the prominences there, and all of that. I think it's absolutely amazing. And we can also look at the Doppler image of the prominences themselves. So if you have like a prominence that is effectively 3D, part of it is like away from us, the other part is going towards us, we can see it as colors in there. So you can see there's a lot of science, I guess, that can be done with that, and that is completely beyond me. But you know what I would, and there's like redshift stuff, I actually don't really know what all that means. But you know what I really want to do with that is you can probably amend that to use it for star spectrophotometry, but also I would love to be able to use this for filter analysis, narrowband filter analysis. I have no idea how to do that, but that could be very, very interesting. So that said, what are your thoughts on this? Because I think like compared to something like a Quark eyepiece or compared to a dedicated solar telescope, it's actually cheaper. It is much, in my opinion. I've used several solar telescopes and I've used the Quark eyepiece. I actually used 2 samples of the Quark eyepiece. And this thing, there's more steps to do to tune it initially, but the steps to tune it, they're a well-known process. It's very easy to follow. You want to have those lines sharp. You want to have the side sharp. You want to have that H-alpha line centered. You want to have the side sharp again via the telescope. So it's like a process that's easy to follow versus a solar telescope where I had to tune the Etalon. I never knew exactly if it was really well tuned, and then the focus felt much more difficult to achieve than with this particular setup. The only real drawback of this is that because it's a scan, if you have any wind, which means vibration between the images, then they will appear as those like vertical lines on your image. But if you're able to image like from a dome or somewhere where you can limit the amount of wind that you get, and from an area with decent seeing, you should be getting absolutely amazing results. It makes me want to use that like kind of more in the morning, because in the morning I would have poor seeing, but typically much less wind. And I think the wind has been the biggest factor for me right now. And so that scanning thing is both amazing and it is the biggest drawback of this. But I still think it's amazing. And for the price, I mean, this is $800. It's not nothing. But it is an amazing thing that you get for $800. I cannot believe that we can get this for $800. I think you can build your own Solex and buy the optics for much cheaper. You probably can buy like a Solex kit plus an optics kit for around what, $500, $600, so cheaper. But the fact that you have those micro adjusters on this, and that is just like all built all fitted together, everything working out of the box. I think it makes a huge difference, and it is definitely worth the $200 to $300 premium that you pay over something like Solex. Honestly, it's an amazing, amazing piece of kit. And actually today I used it at noon to take 10 exposures or 10 scans of the sun, one after the other. So I moved in one direction, then in the other, then again, and each time I was taking a video with the different direction. By the way, your images are mirror flipped from one another, so I had to unflip them after processing and then stack them. I managed to stack 6 out of 10 because 4 were really far too much affected by the wind, but stack them, process them, and this is the result. And this is, actually I'll put 2 results. I'll put the result that is the negative version, where the dark areas are actually brighter on the image and the bright areas are darker, and then the normal version. And both of them were processed using free software plus PixInsight. And I think it's absolutely amazing what we can get with this little thing, and you can see how quickly you can be going with that. And yeah, I highly recommend it, especially if you get bored when you get like lots of clouds at night. This thing can really help. It's often the case in summer in Tokyo. I get clouds at night, but sun during the day. And this is what you can see that all of those clouds are coming in now. So yeah, that's probably going to be the case again tonight. And so it's fun to be able to play with that. And the sun is an amazingly dynamic target, especially right now. And with a relatively cheap doublet, so this is, again, the SV503-102. I'll have all of the links, by the way, down in the description, to the telescope, to the mount. You need a solid mount, so something at least like the AM5N, EQ6R, SEM70, SEM40 would work as well, depending on the size of your telescope. This one is the Wave 150Y. It is super beefy, so that worked great for that. I have it set up actually with the tripod for, I think, the EQ6R type of tripod. As good as it can be, but still it's going to be very sensitive to wind. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would you be interested in getting that? Do you already have it? Do you do solar photography? Are you now interested in wasting money to do solar photography? Let us know down in the comments while you're there. Please like the video, it really helps the channel out. And if you're new to the channel and you like this kind of video, you can consider subscribing. It also helps the channel out. If you want to help even more at no cost to you and you want to buy anything from Agena, Amazon, even non-astro related, High Point Scientific, First Light Optics, etc. If you do so after clicking one of the links that I have down in the description, it will help me out at no cost to you. And if you want to sponsor the channel directly, make those videos possible, because they are a lot of work, especially when I'm actually injured. I have a broken back. I should be wearing a brace, but I'm too lazy, so non-compliance. I'm a bad boy. I know, but I'm getting better. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and you want to encourage that work, you can join my Patreon. The link is down in the description. Or you can join the channel as a member. It's the join button next to the subscribe button. And some of my Patreons have access to my videos early and without ads. I've also got, for my Patreons right now, a Discord server that's experimental. So if you want to join that, it's not super active right now, but you could try it out. But you guys, channel members, Discord members, you make this channel possible. Thank you so much for your generosity. I will actually put everyone, members and Patreon supporters, in the credits at the end of the video, together with the zooming in version of the solar images that I managed to capture today and stack. Let me know your thoughts again. I had so much fun. Again, it's a highly recommended toy / scientific tool if you are into solar photography. So with that, again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, whenever you can, to look up at the stars, and I'll see you next time.